Right, so I'm going to be reviewing Harvester Kairos before they actually arrive. Because, you know, I've got a lot of slides to get through, so I might as well get through some. If you can see that, that is information from Jacqueline Pierce, this actress here, about this character, Jarvik, who I believe is an artisan both in occupation
a long time ago
and temperament. Ah, you're there. Yep, I did, yeah. These things can happen. You never know what's going to happen with me. Alright. So, yeah, what I thought was, because I've taken so many grabs, I thought I might as well show some before you arrive.
Okay.
Yeah, this is what the actress said about the character. I'll just click on that.
Which actress said about what character?
Well, you know what? You're right to ask that. Little details like who's saying what are very important. So yeah, that is right. This actress, Jacqueline Pierce, playing Servalan, about Jarvik. Right.
All right.
Yeah, in real life, I think she's an NFJ. Because I've seen like a lot of interviews and like you've seen Myth. Have you ever had the Myth Keepers series of DVDs where they interview Doctor Who people? And then after a while, they decided to interview a few Blake 7 people. Was it Myth Makers? I think it's Myth Makers. Yeah, that's it, Myth Makers.
I mean, I've seen things that were on the Doctor Who DVDs, but I don't remember what any of them were called, but I've seen interviews on there.
Oh, right, okay. Well, what I can show you is something that's a bit. Where have we got any? Here's one. Right there. There we go. I'll show you a as thingies look like. So yeah, they brought out these VHSs. Sorry, Jeff, I shouldn't have said that. You know what that is, but some of the viewers might not. And then they re-released them on DVD with some extra material. It looks like they can put 2 for the price of 1. So you've got Stephen Greif, the proper Travis, and Jacqueline Pierce. And you know Nicholas Briggs, don't you? Has he done some? I think he's done some. It's just the voice of the Daleks now, I think. So yeah, the Mythmakers people. Yeah, so he was big, Nicholas Briggs, behind like doing these Mythmaker things in the 1990s. And so basically, they interviewed a load of Doctor Who people, and then they decided, oh, we'll interview some Blake 7 people as well. Right then. So yeah, I'll let you have a little look at that. That's the episode and on Jarvik. Her deciding to play it like that, and right then. So Jeff, Yeah, you usually like me to read through the summary of the episode, so I'll do that. So here we go. Servalan launches an attack on the Liberator using a special flight formation which Tarrant recognizes from his training as a Federation space pilot. Tarrant begins to evade the attack whilst in her headquarters, news comes to Servalan of a construction worker who is speaking openly of her inability to take the Liberator. Turns out to be Jarvik, a former space commander who had resigned his commission because of his disaffection with the Federation's dependence on high technology. He boasts that he could have taken the Liberator with 3 ships, and Servalan agrees to let him try. Avon has become totally distracted by an odd, immobile, rock-like life form called Sopron. He thus takes no part in either the evasion of Servalan's forces under guidance of Jarvik or the plan by Tarrant to steal Kairos, available on Kairos for just 1 week every 15 years. All appears to go smoothly with the theft until crates of crystal harvested by the Federation are moved into the Liberator when guards reveal themselves and capture the ship and its crew. In an attempt to salvage the situation, Avon manipulates Zen, who takes over the Liberator, is forced to put the crew down on a habitable planet instead of killing them immediately. However, Servalan fulfills the bargain by teleporting Avon and his colleagues to Kairos. Since the 1 week in which the Kairos can be harvested safely has passed, the planet is now in a phase deadly to human life, although nothing is known about the nature of the threat. Servalan gives Jarvik a further challenge. He didn't put here and to remove Tarrant, which it should have a contest between him and Tarrant to prove he's the better man. So I'll say that bit again. Servalan gives Jarvik a further challenge to remove the teleport bracelets from Avon, Tarrant, and the others, now on Kairos. As he does this, Jarvik tells Avon that the reason no human life can exist on Kairos after the week of harvest is that large insect-like creatures seek out... I don't remember Jarvik telling Avon that. Also in the background. Anyway, I'll read that again. As he does this, Jarvik tells Avon that the reason no human life can exist on Kairos after the week of harvest is that large insect-like creatures seek and use it to spin silk. Anyone who has even touched the substance will be attacked, and since the Kairos is so exceptionally valuable, no humans on the planet it. Meanwhile, Avon has discovered an ancient spaceship to be workable, although only designed for very short journeys into space. Despite his misgivings, Tarrant manages to fly the ship, and Avon then plugs in an analog version of the Sopron rock, which convinces Zen on the Liberator that it is viewing a spaceship of slightly greater size, slightly greater speed, and slightly greater weaponry capacity than Liberator. Despite Jarvik's protestations, Servalan is tricked by this ruse and teleports off the Liberator. Tarrant then docks the small spacecraft alongside the Liberator, and the crew regain control. In the final moments, Jarvik is mistakenly killed by one of Servalan's guards. So, Jeff, what are your initial thoughts?
There were some amusing moments. But I can't help but feel like we didn't really go anywhere, with the story. Like it's kind of continuing along a track of feeling like, they're out of ideas or something. There's not really. It just seems goofier. Like there's not a. There's not like an underlying mission going on, and so it's just sort of like haphazard journeys to various weird things. And this one's not as bizarre as the last one, but it's just kind of goofy, and they introduced another one-off character to be, he challenges Servalan, but at the same time she still gets the better of him despite the fact that he him to be smarter than her in a lot of ways, and then we kill him off, and it's like
You pretty much have to, though, else to beat them. He already beat them soundly. Did Jarvik? He beat Tarrant. He beat Dana.
And that's kind of the point. Is when I was talking in the last Homicide review about how everything that they set up to get Bruno Kirby's character to the point where he could kill Pembleton, but then he doesn't do it. It's like a letdown. And everything is led up to that he would do it in that situation. And so they make this guy like, oh, he's superior, but then he's not because for the plot reasons, And so it just leaves me feeling like, what the hell is the point in having this stuff happen? And if it was to establish that Servalan will decide to randomly give command to some dude who challenges her, but she's done a bunch of weird things before, so that's nothing new.
It's not random. I mean, he's a guy who was a space commander who proved himself worthy. I mean, everybody else has been useless, isn't there? He was more effective than Chavez.
How useless everybody who works for her has been.
Yeah.
I mean, and her, like, so it's again, it doesn't seem very realistic that these people managed to have power in the first place, but then I guess you could draw plenty of parallels to contemporary Earth and say that there are people that you don't think would rise to power that do. So I guess I can't really say it's entirely unrealistic. It's just sort of depressing.
Well, as you know, like, there are certain things certain conventions that you get with episodic TV when you got a regular cast. It's difficult to make changes, but look at the changes that there's already been in Blake 7. Where's Blake? Where's Gan? Where's Jenna? So far in what is it? There's been more. That's quite a lot of change so far.
Right.
So things do happen that are not expected.
Well, yeah, I don't think the series as a whole is predictable. In this episode, and reflecting as a whole what the feeling is as I'm watching them. Things from the start. In fact, I'm saying that they have most of them not for the better, in my opinion, because at the start there was sort of, I'd say it's not seriousness, but I don't know what the right word to use. There was more of a tension where there was kind of a suspense level there, and like I said, all I can think of now to say is it just seems goofier, like the closest to sort of having sort of this cool element that was going on. But even that was just sort of like, it came off sort of, comedic. And it's sort of like, I don't think the show is intending to be a comedy. Not that they don't have comedy moments, but it seems like a show that, at least at the beginning, was trying to be somewhat serious, or, kind of establish a tone that was more, and, intense and stuff. And then it seems like that there have been more episodes as the show's gone on where they don't take it very seriously and it seems goofier. That's just sort of the overall feeling I have. Which obviously I can enjoy things that are goofy, so it's not that it's devoid of enjoyment for me. It's just that, to me, I liked there being, in some ways, a more serious tone. I can sort of forgive things that are, not necessarily great, things like, not having great special effects and stuff like that. That doesn't bother me. I don't mind things like that. And I don't mind there being some, obviously, suspension of disbelief required. I mean, that to me is, any show, you're going to have some of that. But overall, if you're going towards something where it feels like, okay, I'm hanging with this because it maintains the intrigue, then the overall feeling is, okay, this is a cool thing. And even if there's some stuff along the way that I don't like, and it has a lot of cool elements. It sort of has a kind of campy, melodramatic feel to it, which again doesn't mean I can't enjoy it. It just doesn't seem as cool.
The reason I like it is that it's something not necessarily to do with itself. It's because, to me, it's an exaggerated version of the socionics theory of NFJs and S2Ps. And the thing is, it's just that the way that Jarvik treats Servalan is a little bit like how Jacqueline Pierce likes her men in real life. And you get this thing with these NFJs. I've had a female INTP tell me they do not like STPs treating her that way. And it's like that. They can be weird, those NFJs. They like these type of... Now, obviously, it's exaggerated. And with the character of Jarvik, I see him as like an exaggerated version of an STP. But he does nothing wrong. It's like with Provine, who... He wasn't incompetent. What did Jarvik do anything wrong? Did he make any stupid decisions? Did he make any stupid decisions, Jarvik?
Well, I don't know.
I mean, he seemed to...
I don't know how to judge that.
Well, he seemed to win, didn't he? I mean, like we talked before about, how the other ones were incompetent, and like Travis.
He got himself killed, so he didn't win in the end.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'll hang on.
Again, it's kind of annoying. It's like if you set up the character to be sort of a foil for Servalan, but then you still just get rid of him, then it seems like, what was the point in having this?
Oh, I would have loved him. I would have loved him to carry on. It would have been one of my favourite characters, if not my favourite character. I would have loved him to carry on.
And it probably would have, to me, to have a character like that from the start instead of Travis.
Oh yes, especially for her.
It would have. Yeah, it would have made more sense, to me in terms of than the dynamic did between her and Travis. I can only buy the NFJ thing for her if it's like, exactly, but sort of the alternate personality. Because I talked about how I know an INFJ that has that sort of other character she goes to that's like an SP type.
Yeah.
And that seems like that's what, if you're going to say she's an NFJ, that's what she's got to be doing, because an NFJ that's, that's being reasonable is not going to just follow this random whim to have this guy take control of everything. Be her like acting spontaneously in a way that she wouldn't normally do.
Well, I've spoken to some NFJs about this, and it's if they think the man is really something and really capable. It's like how David Kersey and you say that SPs will see someone and it's like, have they got the chops? Can they do it? When they see a man can do it, that he really is something, that he has something about him that is really capable, that they on some level submit to that kind of man, but only if it's worthy of them.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the over I don't know what the right word, but the dominating factor, personality factor of that guy was his sexism. And so he doesn't come across to me like somebody who he's just he's kind of a boorish stereotype.
How was he sexist?
You asking that seriously?
Yeah, I mean, how was it versus the just STP? How was he sexist?
Every time that he made comments constantly about calling people woman and like a man needs this, and then he says to Dana something about she is still just a woman. I mean, it's like half of his dialogue was sexist.
Yeah, but was anything that he said not true?
They weren't factual things. They were just his viewpoint from a sexist point of view. So it's not true or false. Offensive to me, but you can't say it's untrue, but it's not true either, because he wasn't stating facts. It's viewpoint that's warped.
Okay, we'll have to find the bits that are warped then.
Find them. I mean, they're all throughout the episode. He's constantly, any woman he calls woman. That's how he greets them.
Yeah.
Like the men that he talks to as captain and by their names, but a woman is just woman.
I mean, well, what's he supposed to call them? I mean, he knows the captain. He knows who they are.
What does anybody else call them, Ben?
But
there's no other character they've had up to this point that refers to a woman he doesn't know as woman.
Well, okay, just say you there.
Yeah, that would be better, sure. Because you're not, just trying to draw attention to the sex of the person for no reason. Because he's obviously doing that to try to establish himself as somehow superior to them.
This bit was just like STP FI Polar.
No, it was like something out of like a caveman movie or something. Not caveman, but like Tarzan or whatever, You woman. So he grabs her and, has his way with her or whatever. I think it would probably not. I was just watching this video thing that was talking about like movie things that wouldn't be done today. I think that would be an example of something that would probably not be in a.
Oh, it would. Well, not in a currency, but it would be done with an S&M thing.
Well, okay, yeah, but that's something where it's sort of consenting, whereas they present this as it's the first time she's met him, so it wasn't something where it's set up to be that she's the beginning. And that scene seemed like it was like a high school theater thing where somebody missed their cue because she just stood there with her hands out for like 5 seconds, like somebody was supposed to do something, but nobody's doing anything.
Part of that is...
I wonder if that motion was in the script of her doing that, or whether that was just a choice by her to do that.
But that makes sense. At an unconscious level, she's holding them back. It's hard for them to do something while she's holding them back.
Where you make sense out of just stuff that
happens. Well, he asked me a couple minutes ago, how was Jarvik sexist?
Opening bit.
Do all women as women?
Yeah,
yeah.
Like he wanted me to explain that to him, like he'd never heard that before or something.
Like, did you not watch the episode? The majority of their dialogue was sexist.
Yeah, and he says, how else should he refer to them? I'm like,
is that how you refer to women, Ben?
No, but I'm not an STP, am I?
What, Ben?
I'm not an STP.
So if you're an STP, then that's the way you should address women?
They'd like to, wouldn't they? But they've been programmed not to, so maybe they're not as artisan as they think.
I don't think that sexism is inherently an artisan thing, or that would be a natural artisan desire. Now, the part, when the actress, the thing you showed me earlier, where she was referring to the power, the parts of it, or I can't remember exactly what it said, but she was talking about Servalan using her feminism, feminine charms or whatever.
Yeah.
sounds very artisan, because artisans will take advantage of what they think acquires something in the moment. So you saw earlier in a previous episode when Jenna turned on the charm when she was with that king dude, because she was, she had a purpose for what she could achieve doing that. Felt like the best thing to do at the time. That seems like an artisan thing. If he felt like, if Jarvik felt like acting this way towards Servalan is the best way to accomplish what I'm trying to get done, then that's more of an artisan thing. Sexism for the hell of it,
Well,
And that can be, any type can behave that way. Actually, achieve anything, then it's not something that would be based in, I think, an artisan desire in general.
Avon does more violence against women than Jarvik.
All right.
What's with these stats? You should go with the new stats.
Aemon was probably the most interesting in this episode, because he seemed like, it seems like in a lot of previous episodes he's been more focused than some of the others, and this one they sort of showed the side of how a person like him very focused but then appear unfocused to everybody else because they're not focused on the same thing. So I thought that was a good element of the episode, was showing that.
Yeah, proper INTJ in this one.
Yeah, I already said from previous episodes that there were moments where he established that he's an INTJ as opposed to an ENTJ, but this was another example where he went into full in his quest.
It was it was oddly convenient that Avon's entire project led to the main stage at the end, which I called also. I also called the boxes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yep.
Yellow box.
Yeah,
I don't think that was supposed to be very much of a surprise, though.
No, they set it up. They showed the guy inside.
Yeah, well, that was the thing, and what I said earlier when you were in the room, Morgan, is that I felt like there's a lack of suspense when everything is sort of set up that way, where, I was contrasting with some previous episodes where there was tone, sort of more of a feeling of suspense and intrigue, whereas this one, there's so much goofiness that it's hard to really get into it the same way, in my opinion.
Episodes that focus more on Avon are usually better, because for some reason they actually know how to write him okay sometimes.
Yeah, and to me, you can have an episode that has plenty of kind of goofier elements in it, but still has other things that make it cooler. Like, for instance, the Gambit episode where you had the whole thing with Avon and Villa, where they did the gambling stuff using Aurak, and then had to, even though it was predictable that he was going to use Aurak to win the chess thing, it was still fun to see that. It followed the story in a fun way. And the other things that were going on in that episode, other than Servalan, were fairly fun too to sort of follow. They didn't spend too much time on the goofier elements. Like, they were there, but they didn't drag. The main thing that makes it hard for me to enjoy is that I'd really gotten to detest Servalan so much that I can't stand anything with her in it.
Detest her, she's just trapped.
Yeah, I just really want somebody to kill her. And this guy was once again failed at that, so he sucks too.
This one just seemed like a bad theater play, because everyone, that's what it seemed like. It was everything was where there's this suspension of disbelief for the entire thing.
Yeah, it was actually probably the first episode where it
were weird.
Felt like
it was so obvious, because nothing happened that wasn't convenient for the plot. There was no it was many times where she orders guards to shoot somebody, and they stop because the person goes, "Wait, plot," and then they're like, "Oh, okay, I guess we shouldn't shoot them."
Here's the thing, I mentioned before the lack of Blake and Jenna on the show, and how that in itself would not be a problem if the plot itself of the storyline seemed like they were, there was this, okay, it's this search for the missing people, and then we have these things that happen along the way, but it's like they're not following.
Any boy left?
Hello? Might have been, if his laptop cooler wasn't on, his thing could have gone down, but the link is still active and it says live, but I don't know if what I'm saying is currently being recorded or not. If it is, I'd just like to take this opportunity to say la 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 la. If it's not, then whatever. If it, yeah. Doop diddy doop. If it did kick him out, then he might not respond here either because his laptop may crash.
And we're back.
Hey, there he is. A laptop cooler problem or what?
I don't know.
Oh, did it just suddenly disappear for you? Or did I just suddenly disappear?
I think there was a problem with the connection.
Okay. Because for me, I suddenly showed that the Hangout ended, but when I went back in, I was here, but you weren't.
I mean, Avon would say things like that. He would say things like, "You, woman."
He wasn't really sexist with it, though.
I don't know. I don't remember that, but I'm not saying he didn't. He may have.
He calls anybody.
I mean,
yeah, I get a little bit of sexism from Avon, but it comes across more that he just thinks everybody's inferior to him in intellect, male or female.
But it's like you focus on you, woman, rather than the actual violence.
What violence specifically are you talking about?
Well, like picking her up, getting her by the throat, throwing her down, and then also you'd say with Avon, he grabbed Servalan by the throat and threw her on the floor, and then said, "I'll be dead in a week."
Yeah. In support of violence, if that's what you were saying.
I am, however.
Yeah, he is. He likes violence, but and I guess it does appeal to me in certain contexts. But I guess I like equal opportunity violence better rather than sexist violence. But I thought the thing with Avon and Servalan was weird too, so I didn't really like that either.
Yeah, that was dumb. It just, I don't even know what it is. They keep pushing Servalan. It's like, she's this beautiful woman. All guys apparently in her presence make out with her for no apparent.
Well, I mean, I can buy that part of it because it's a combination of things. Like, it's not just the physical aspect as it is that there are people, male and female, that are attracted to power and people in certain positions, and so that.
She's not powerful. You can just shoot her.
Well, but she's in a position of power.
Yeah. Does so because they're all stupid. This entire
Well,
show is stupid. The writers are stupid.
okay, I'm not arguing that the situations of sometimes. Am I back?
Yeah.
We'll find out when the video is actually uploaded what ends up actually being in the on the screen. Billions. I can't really do an impression of that other guy, so I end up sounding more like Walter Cronkite. That's the way it is. Some things will never change. Hey, Benny's back.
Wow. All right then.
I don't know how this is going to appear on video when it's uploaded, but anyway.
People tend to like balls ups. I think people like people like a balls up. Yeah, see an example there, like
right.
Jarvik throws her on a sofa, and Avon throws her on the ground.
Right. That's the part where I'm like, risen to be this commander of everything or whatever, and then be like, lie there until I tell you otherwise, and she just takes it. Well, yeah, I mean, I get that, but I'm just like, man.
I mean, there's some weird women out there. You know, if you have a look at Kat, it's a little bit like Diana Dawes.
It's like perfectly characteristically, like, realistic in a sense. You know, it's possible she's into that. Okay. But I don't really care. So since most of the episode is about basically her with one scene cutting back to them, and he just has his shirt unzipped halfway.
Yeah, that was like, huh.
Just like, that was uninteresting. And Avon was really the only amusing part of this episode, and even then, he was fascinated over the rock.
I thought there was a few other amusing parts. I enjoyed when the Zarbi showed up, and wondered if the Monoptera would be soon to follow.
I did find them Zen reading off the stats of the tiny vessel that they're inhabiting.
Yeah, that was funny.
Was hilarious.
Yeah, right, that was amusing.
It was stupid that a rock could do all was, but it was hilarious.
Well, I mean, they've established that in like
It wasn't
7
even just the rock
universe.
Avon
Yeah.
made a new rock that wasn't a rock. That with all the wires he had, he wired some wires and then did the exact thing.
Yeah, kind of. That's the thing. Is it kind of seems like somehow they could have had, Orak invent another like weird thing that can do whatever is convenient to the plot. For this one, that was a rock. I'm like, all right, fine. They've established in this universe that there's just things like that. So,
all right.
Yeah.
It's just like when that is the better part of the episode, it's just kind of sad.
Yeah, I can see what you mean. And then I can forget. There was one other part I thought was amusing. It's going in my head. Well, again, there's a few things were sort of set up, but they were a little bit of a letdown. Like Dana having the fight with Jarvik. Like, I mean, at least, kick the guy around a little bit. But it was like she kept backing off of him just when she kind of had him down,
And it was
really
pretty obvious that he was taking it easy on her.
Well, it didn't come off that way to me. It just came off as the kind of not very well choreographed.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, I mean, they actually said that in the documentary.
Him and the other guy, Tarrant, it was even worse. Like that one was.
Oh yeah, he said that.
They hadn't even rehearsed it. They were just like, kind of roll around for a while, guys.
Yeah, the actor Stephen Pacey, who played Tarrant, called himself a Jesse for being terrible at fighting.
Well, that scene just looked awkward.
Oh yeah, I mean,
and
fighting was bad then.
Like feed the crystal to the big ant, and it was just like I said, it was just goofy. It's like it's not bad, it's just goofy. So it's.
Oh yeah, they actually said like the noise that they actually chose as well for the chomping was a little bit silly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean,
I actually thought
in the reptile from Mortal Kombat going.
I thought it was quite well made, though. I mean, for the times on that budget, it was I think it's quite a well-made insect.
Yeah, and credit to the actors for being able to do the scene with straight faces and not start cracking up at it.
You've not seen Moloch yet.
Moloch
looks so bad that they had to do the faces the next day with them looking at something else. I won't say anything more about that. You'll forget about it by the time it turns up.
All right. Yeah, from a distance, it doesn't look too bad. The get closer you get to it, it starts to look a little bit goofier. But,
What I like was how it was moved and the way the person was, some sort of person inside, and that seems quite interesting how it was done.
With a really big butt.
Maybe they've got Deep Roy in there.
I thought it was funny when whatever he just died, whatever the name of the girl was, when she was looking at this ant very slowly moving towards her, and then she was like, "Do something," and I'm like, "How do you take this step back if you're actually frightened of the thing?"
Well, yeah, that was kind of to me poorly executed too. If the point was she was stuck in the web thing,
that was kind of
should have been more around her than it was. As it was, it sort of looked like, oh, there's a little bit on my foot. Yeah. So after she tells him to do something, she just pulls it off. Before that,
yeah,
I think she would have turned around and run. She was really trying to get away from it.
It's repeated. They're supposed to, the way they introduced her is she's this warrior. And then so some moments they're like, we can make her fight somebody. And other times she's like, oh, she's helpless.
Yeah, it seems like there's an underlying sexism in the writers of the show, period, where they seem to view females as just not being very competent when a lot of the time. Very many strong female characters. And you could say Servalan is strong, but she isn't in so many ways. She's this sort of phony strong. So it seems like she's some sort of weird fantasy of the creators of the show, as opposed to being a character that really exudes strength. There have been a few, but they've been very scattered. Like there was that one rebel leader that got killed, that had the daughter that was sold her out or whatever. Strong female character, but again, she was only in it for a short time and then killed off.
They kill off their good character.
Yeah, and then Sarah in the one episode that pulled off the taking over.
Pulled it off. She shot the main character.
Yeah, right. But they neutralized her strength at the right moment to. But
otherwise, she would have killed all. I mean,
right.
They were all turned away from her so that Avon could be like, "Hey, watch this, guys. I'm gonna prove how smart I am." I'm like, if you know it's her, then you realize bringing everybody, turning their backs to her is a bad idea. Right? And she does pull a gun, but only afterwards. And she doesn't actually shoot anybody because,
Right there.
Writer Ben Steed, which sounds like a porn star name.
Hey, actually, you're right, it does. But he went on to write this children's series that was very good called Kappa 2. And you know what this sequel to Kappa 2 was called?
Kappa 3?
No, Kappa 2 2.
Kappa 2. That's great.
Yeah.
Director, Gerald Blake. Hey, remember Blake? The guy the show's named after?
Alright. There we go. Right, okay.
Yeah, I like that you just described the story.
Okay, which bits were unimaginative? Was the sopron unimaginative?
The stuff with a what?
The sopron unimaginative?
Oh, the rock thing?
Yeah.
I don't know if something imaginative or not. I mean, I guess in a
rock that makes other people
I guess
slightly better than them.
I guess there's certain elements that would be imaginative about them. You have to imagine that this rock is capable of doing these things. Well, you don't have to be. Anyway, that unimaginative is not usually a criticism that I would level at something. Because, I mean, I like Dragnet's. Dragnet's not particularly imaginative, but I still enjoy the show. I like the genre that they call police procedurals for whatever reason. They appeal to me. So most of those aren't particularly imaginative. Now, the last homicide that we reviewed is an example of one that is more imaginative because they took a different perspective on things than they usually do. So doesn't necessarily mean it's better. But yeah, the sci-fi show, I guess it's a little bit more expected for there to be more imaginative stuff.
I'll just notice what they were talking about on this in a nutshell.
Next.
Do you know what that means? Rock crunching Hoover bag, Ant Mayhem.
Well, I assume they're talking about the Hoover bag park?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's a vacuum cleaner.
No. It does look quite a lot like a really old-fashioned Hoover where the bag was on the outside. I suppose in this particular shot, it does look like a Hoover bag at the back. Right. And then bits are removed.
Yeah, I mean, it's all right.
Yeah.
No, not too bad, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had two comments, and I don't know if you heard in my when I was watching the episode about outfits, and one was wardrobe is off the charts, like that he keeps on coming up with something more ridiculous looking than the last outfit, and the other one was that what's his face Jarvik changes clothes when he goes down to the planet into something that's more like Tarrant's outfit. It's like he's going to battle him, so hey, well, I'll change into this thing like him.
Well, probably shot that on film months before, and there was a bit of a balls up.
Well, that's what I said. I'm like, did he have that on, but did he change before he came down, or did the act of teleporting to that planet just put a Robin Hood outfit on you? It's a condition of arriving on the planet. You have to wear that.
I had to move that bit up quickly because there's a bit I should have removed that I didn't.
Oh, okay. Well, don't worry. I didn't see it. So
I do not know if this is true about Andrew Burt.
Well, probably the thing about laying traps around the house is probably not true.
But I don't know if that bit's true. Because remember how Jamie was replaced by an actor. Maybe he did play Ken Barlow, and then obviously the bit after that's BS. But remember, they brought in an actor to replace Jamie when he got chicken pox, Fraser Hines.
Yeah, and he was actually worried that he was going to lose his part over that. Because the guy they had to replace him was a real Scotsman, unlike Fraser Hines.
Yeah, and Fraser Hines was saying that it was a little bit different. It was a little bit of a tougher Jamie, the guy that came in.
Kairos is harvested by people apparently meandering around a field looking at the grass. Yeah, well, what else would you do? Yeah, I liked Dana's outfit.
Oh yeah.
And again, was thinking that she's probably using the claws that.
Yeah,
So
got
yeah,
similar
I'd
figures.
kind of like to see Jenna in that outfit. We all love Mirrorlon.
Yeah. Which is again, you shoot the reflection and then you wobble the mirror, and then it gets the effect of the whole image wobbling. And they've probably invented Quantel in the early 80s, and then they've just used the Quantel machine. Maybe. Which bit are you laughing at?
That dyed her blue in all caps, the same color as his tunic. Yeah, we already mentioned the unzipped outfit for Jarvik. Didn't they show the?
He wasn't doing it the entire night. He was obviously having sex with Servalan. He wasn't spending the whole night looking for the crew, was he?
Yeah, but the thing about how did the Chiropan get into Villa's boot? Didn't they show that happen? I was thinking that he like noticed it because then he said there was something in his shoe.
Yeah, because he went, "Ow, what's this?" And then he just felt something.
Yeah.
And then he got, "Oh, I've got half a
So
million worth of Chiropan."
So it happened while he was walking. So it's like anything else where you're walking and all of a sudden something's stuck in your shoe. It just happens.
Yep.
It's pretty clear this isn't the first time Jarvik and Tarrant have wrestled. Yeah, the funny part about that to me was that he seemed like generally happy to see him. Like, oh, haven't seen you in a while. Oh, you're holding someone hostage. Okay. Like, oh, that's a surprise. He seemed like such a nice guy when I knew him before. Yeah, both Dane and Jarvik's clothes are clean. The teleport's got some powers.
Yeah.
Cleans your clothes. Technology, man. Yeah, that's another good point. Zen's ability to obliterate bits of a planet's surface would have been jolly useful on many other occasions. Though, you know, it has shown weapons capability. It just, most of the time, they're the ones being attacked, so they're returning fire.
Yeah, I did like that line. How does one operate this spaceship? One manipulates the controls and the ship functions accordingly.
Yeah, I was waiting actually for Zen to ask when she was talking about destroying parts of the planet, like to be more specific as to what weapons she wanted to use or whatever. You know, it was like start to get really down to the nitty gritty. What do you want, woman? No, if Zen had said it, then that would just been, you know, all right. That's just how they talk in this universe.
Oh, remember in Star One? That's when Avon said that. When he said to the woman that was at Star, he says, "Now tell me, woman." Callie says, "No, she can't tell you. She's being conditioned." That was an example.
Yeah, I think it says about a line being cut. Like, to me, it just a lot of dialogue seemed awkward in that way. Like, it seemed like maybe they didn't have enough rehearsal time before this one. Like, it just seemed kind of oddly staged and not as smooth as usual. Most of the time, even when the story is silly, the dialogue usually comes across more smoothly than it did in this one.
Yeah, I mean, what happened in the documentary is like the stuntman. Oh, he also coordinated the fight. He said that, and the actor that played Tarrant, Stephen Pacey, said, "Hey, it was my fault. I was a Jesse. I didn't know how to fight."
Yeah, well, I wouldn't even blame the actors. I'd say just, you know, director or whoever's sort of in charge of choreographing the fight scene.
We don't have enough time.
Needed to do it. Yeah, well, that's I
they
guess
needed more time.
As I'm saying, it just seemed like they didn't have.
But
tried to make the most of it.
But having said that, the fighting was pretty bad in Buck Rogers as well, which was made at a similar time.
Mm-hmm.
And in the 1990s, and then they sort of overcompensated in the 1990s, where you would have people in, say, Babylon 5, you would have extras jumping in the air and doing a 360-degree roundhouse.
Yeah, what I would love to see, and I don't know if anyone would actually do it, where the sounds of a fight are realistic instead of the fighting. You know, if they just left it as this is how an actual fight sounds. But I can't think of anything.
They should just actually hit each other.
Right, exactly. Like, have a real fight. And there are movies that have real fighting in them, but they still add the Hollywood fighting sound effects over them. Some of them are more over the top than others, but on my head, I can't think of a movie that doesn't do that in when they have like actual hand-to-hand combat.
But did you see the things like where you saw even in the first episode that Jacqueline Pierce, where the guy actually really did throw her down to the ground? I think Morgan said on commentary, "Oh, she got wrecked."
Mm-hmm.
So it's just that I've heard things in interviews that she's done where basically she is kinky and is a little bit weird, Jacqueline Pierce. Psychiatric, she's a proper NFJ, psychiatric problems, and she talked about breakdowns in between seasons.
The NFJs watching this are like, thanks, Ben.
I'm just saying how it is.
Yeah, they all have psychiatric problems.
Hey, well, I did an NI hangout today, and it was weird. It's a weird function, is an eye.
Yeah, well, I can't argue with that.
Right, we got. Yeah, worth bearing in mind.
Yeah, I think that dude Jarvik was right when he said one. Like a competent pilot, commander with one could have done it a long time ago.
Yeah.
But they always when there's a choice of making a stupid decision or a smart decision, they always go with the stupid decision every time.
I like this bit here, this Tarrant mitigation technique.
Yeah.
Imagine
There's
the pairs
not
of
accepting reality, Ben. You crossed out the word misogyny, like you're saying.
What? Because
No,
it's
that's
towards
not
one
misogyny.
person. Yeah, but the Avon is as well. Then.
Well, I'm not denying he is somewhat that way, but that guy was that was his dominating characteristic. Avon might have that there, but it's not his number one thing. I mean, he spends more time picking on Villa than he does Callie, so.
Right. So you think Jarvik hates women?
I wouldn't say he hates women. He just thinks they're inferior to him or inferior to men.
Right.
Whereas Avon, it does seem more personal. He thinks everybody's inferior to him, intellectually. So he might more pragmatically think that women are easier for him to push around.
Right.
But it doesn't necessarily think that they're lesser because of any kind of preconceived notion. But I don't know. I think I missed the end of that last page. Can you go back to that for a sec?
Yeah, I didn't know what that meant. Imagine it was a pair of the double O's.
Only attempt Bruce to make Tarrant appear less macho. Apparently. Yeah, Tarrant seems more like he's more of the take control. He wants to tell everybody what to do and kind of take over things. So I don't necessarily get a macho thing from him, really, and there hasn't been recall anything where he seemed to be, putting down any of the women for being women. He just sort of like Avon thinks he's intellectually superior. Tarrant thinks he's superior in just leadership skills, I guess.
So, how many boxing matches have you seen between a man and a woman?
How many boxing matches between a man and a woman?
Yeah.
I don't know, not a few.
In the ring? You seen it?
Few? Why?
Really? Wow. I didn't know they had that.
You never seen on those celebrity boxing things and stuff? They did those.
Oh, no.
And what's her face? Muhammad Ali's daughter has fought men before.
How well did she do?
Remember, I didn't really follow it.
Well, if you want to see that, there's an episode of Battlestar Galactica Mark II called Unfinished Business, which is a little bit weird.
I saw a lot of episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, though, so.
Well, that's
Buffy
different. I mean, that's martial arts. That's different. Because most of
Well, yeah, I mean, martial arts is different than boxing. You're right. I'm not sure why you brought up boxing, because they weren't really boxing in this episode either. I mean, Dana seemed to be doing some sort of martial art.
Yeah.
You can call it that.
Yeah. Anyway, now, if you think this one was sexist, you should see Ben Steed's other scripts. Because it's there's one in season 4 which is whoa.
Well, I will see it. So.
Whoa.
And presumably, as long as I live that long, then I will.
Whoa. Because it's actually called Power. That one really is dodgy.
All right. Well, We'll see.
Right, we got through that. Over 300. So how many do you give it out of 10?
It's a tough question. But like I said, I always try to go overall enjoyment level. So I think I would have to give this one a 4 out of 10.
Oh, I think that's about the same as last time.
No, I think last time it was a 2.
Oh,
So this one was better than the last one.
Oh, okay.
It was goofy. Well, I don't know if it was good. The last one was pretty goofy too, but the last one just sort of, it had stuff that was kind of, it had more boring parts. Things that weren't boring, even if it was a little silly, to hold my attention a little bit better, I guess.
I have no idea how you will score the next one. I can see you loving it, or I can see you hating it. There you go. I'm not giving you any spoilers there. But I think it's a wide range. It's a wide range. You could absolutely love it, or you could find it totally goofy. And I won't say why either way, because I know you don't. Right.
What rating do you give this one?
Well, I like it because Jarvik is so over the top. But you see, I see his sexism and non-sexism through the lens of intertype relations. So obviously, most people are going to go, ugh, but there are some NFJs. They act like that, and they get these submissive, masochistic type relationships.
Well, I would say this is not me claiming to speak for all SFPs, but I would say that my guess is that a majority of SFPs would have a negative reaction to that type of behavior. That's just a guess, though.
In the United States.
I mean, I don't know. It would be different outside the United States. Obviously, I know, some people from other cultures, so I can make certain guesses, but I don't know, everything else. There are some cultures where it would be even more offensive, because not even necessarily because of sexism, just because the attitude is that everybody has to respect authority. So the disrespect of authority that he showed would have been the problem less.
I can see that story being where you flip the sexes and people wouldn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, I would agree.
But I mean, I do think Ben Steed has a little bit of an issue. So you'll notice that in his next 2 stories, where it's like, whoa, right? So
I can't say that in itself would ruin a story for me if the rest of the elements of it are cooler. But like I said, this one, there just wasn't anything really that made me think, oh, this is cool, this is mysterious, this is suspenseful. There wasn't anything that really grabbed me enough. Even the one about the virus, I forget the name of it now, at least had sort of the suspense on that part of it, even if some of the rest of it was kind of dragged a little bit. And this one really didn't even have that. It was just sort of kind of bits put together to me.
Yeah, I think that was Killer by Robert Holmes. Season 2.
Right. Okay. So that one, it wasn't to me a perfect episode by any means, but at least it had the thing. It had enough compelling about it that wanted to know what was going to happen. This one, again, somewhat like the last one, felt like it was sort of a relief to be over. So yeah. So I think I'm actually being a little generous in giving it a 4, but I'm doing that because there were some elements in it that were enjoyable. So I'm trying to.
Right. So now that you've seen Tarrant for a while, which temperament do you think he is?
That's tough based on what they've showed of him. Like, I would say the only thing I would be certain of is he doesn't come off as an idealist. I would say he comes off as probably a thinker, but the rest I'm not sure, because there's is to lean toward artisan, but I wouldn't say that you can know for sure that you know. But he sort of does seem to function as sort of like the other side of Avon, where Avon's sort of like the, you know, the technical aspects, and Tarrant is like more about the weaponry and the actual like military stuff.
He's also pretty impulsive. I mean,
yeah, I mean, he makes quick decisions, but of course there are some STJs that are capable of doing that as well. So yeah, I wouldn't completely rule that out, but yeah, I would say probably lean toward STP.
yeah. I mean, it's remarkable that like you go towards him saying woman rather than the actual violence that Jarvik did. Whereas, like,
What do you mean go towards?
When I asked you what was sexist about Jarvik, you said like.
Well, I said basically everything. That was like his dominating characteristic. But so from the start, it was like obvious he was disrespecting women. So I didn't think I had to point out to you violence.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was just seeing what you'd go for. Pull out, anyhow.
So you lied to me then.
Oh, maybe I
did. When I asked you if it was a serious question, then it wasn't a serious question.
Well, there you go. Can't always tell with me. Dario did say that he thought I had a secondary artisan temperament, but I don't know what he's talking about. Right, so...
Well, I have a secondary idealist temperament, so remember you can hurt my feelings.
Oh, dear. Actually, that's probably true, folks. So, bye-bye.
Bye.
If you want to say something.